If you missed your favorite show or interview, visit episodes on our website at theworldtoday.news. Our live shows are also on X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, and Twitch. Now there really is no reason to miss out on anything on theworldtoday.news.
For The World Today, this is James O'Neill. A 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Afghanistan's Kunar province near Jalalabad late Sunday, killing at least 800 people and injuring over 2,500, according to Taliban officials. The quake struck shortly before midnight, toppling homes and flattening villages while residents slept. Rescue operations began immediately, with security forces and emergency crews searching rubble for survivors, but efforts were slowed by landslides and destroyed roads. Video footage showed helicopters airlifting the injured to Jalalabad, where hospitals are overwhelmed with victims. The disaster is among Afghanistan's deadliest in recent years, with hundreds of families still missing as search efforts continue. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius rebuked European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen for publicly discussing possible EU troop deployments to Ukraine. Speaking near Cologne, Pistorius stressed the EU has no authority over military deployments and said such deliberation should remain private. His remarks followed von der Leyen's claim that EU capitals were drafting precise plans for a multinational force backed by U.S. strategic support. The Pentagon called reports pre-decisional. Moscow has repeatedly warned against any NATO involvement in Ukraine, saying it risks escalating the war into a broader conflict. Chinese President Xi Jinping urged Shanghai Cooperation Organization members to resist hegemonism and Cold War-style confrontation while promoting an equal multipolar world. Opening the SCO summit in Tianjin, Xi praised the group's achievements since 2001, stressing cooperation, cultural respect, and inclusive globalization. He highlighted collective output of $30 trillion in trade with SCO nations, surpassing $2.3 trillion, much tied to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Xi pledged further investments in education and technology to sustain growth. More than 20 nations, along with representatives from the UN and ASEAN, attended, underscoring the bloc's growing economic and political influence. President Trump called on pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer and Moderna, to publicly release data they shared privately with him about their COVID-19 vaccines. Trump linked the lack of transparency to turmoil at the CDC, where leadership changes followed decisions to stop recommending vaccines for healthy children and pregnant women. While studies credit the vaccines with saving 2.5 million lives globally, they've also been tied to side effects such as heart inflammation. Trump praised Operation Warp Speed, but said companies should release data now to restore trust. Lawmakers and health experts backed his call for openness. Pope Leo XIV met with Jesuit priest Reverend James Martin, a leading advocate for LGBTQ+ inclusion in the Catholic Church, affirming continuity with Pope Francis's welcoming stance. Martin said Leo encouraged him to continue his ministry and emphasized the Church's openness to todos. The meeting comes ahead of an LGBTQ+ pilgrimage to Rome, reflecting a policy of inclusion despite unchanged doctrine on homosexuality. While Leo previously expressed concerns about the homosexual lifestyle, Martin described him as open and inclusive, highlighting priorities of peace and unity. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson confirmed asylum rights outweigh residents' objections.
To be a quick fix, we will sort it.
Your lawyers, under your guidance, have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear? And it's up to you. Ministers can say, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do.
This has been James O'Neill for The World Today.
If you missed your favorite show or interview, visit episodes on our website at theworldtoday.news. Now there really is no reason to miss out on anything on theworldtoday.news.
Be safe, honey.
No matter where you go, always gear up before hitting the road.
Respect road laws and riders, too.
Look twice. Stop early. Stay aware.
Ride safe. Being tough doesn't mean taking risks. Ride smart, share the road, and get home to what matters most.
When you hear the words nonprofit organization, what comes to mind? Is it a place your dog called home before finding you? Is it an organization that supports accessibility? Is it a place that ensures your safety and that of those you love? That protects endangered wildlife and habitats or fights for our most basic needs? It's impossible to show all the ways nonprofit organizations make a difference in our world. One animal, one person, one cause at a time, but it's not impossible to be part of it. When you give what you have to a nonprofit organization that needs what you can give, you help promote, protect, and strengthen the reach of these incredible organizations. The Nonprofit Alliance is here, helping connect people like you to the nonprofits that enrich your life, your community, and the world we share. Reach out to a nonprofit organization that inspires you today to find how you can help make the world a better place.
I start every run with a plan and a promise to stay safe. A big part of my plan is to be alert to drivers and other pedestrians. Whether you're on your feet or behind the wheel, the road belongs to all of us. Every trip, every time, safety first. Alert today, alive tomorrow.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus!
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
A lot of my friends told me that I wasn't going to be able to do it. You don't need to start out with a teenager because they've had all these things that they've gone through.
Could we give him the things he needed to be a successful adult?
What parent isn't worried about, what am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough?
That's my son.
My dad showcased a sense of love that I never had before.
I had a rough time, but I saw that even though the way I was acting, they didn't push me away.
She says that we're her heroes, but she's also mine.
I've had 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
How you guys raised me is absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate that.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
If you don't have a smoke alarm in your bedroom, by the time a fire burns through your door to activate your smoke alarm, it will be too late. Install smoke alarms in your bedrooms today.
If you missed your favorite show or interview, visit episodes on our website at theworldtoday.news. Our live shows are also on X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Kick, and Twitch. Now there really is no reason to miss out on anything on theworldtoday.news.
And we're back again for lunchtime, and hopefully we've got a lot of great things for you at the moment coming up, including we'll go to New Zealand and talk with Anna Mcloughlin. But before that, we are very excited. We are very excited. Very excited, in fact, to say, as my phone goes nuts, that Dan Andrews, the man himself, Dan Andrews, has elevated himself in China. Had a catch up with his old buddy, Xi Jinping, Pingo he calls him. Anyway, look, we'll play a clip here, which was reported from Sky, in fact. This is Dan Andrews, by the way, meeting his boss. So Cam, could you play Dan, please?
Former Premier in Victoria, Dan Andrews, arriving at this event. The optics of this have been heavily criticised.
They certainly have been, and not just from opponents of the Labor Party and the Labor government, although they are bemused by the images of what they're seeing there. And you saw Daniel Andrews shaking hands with with Xi Jinping. Bob Carr is there as well.
There you are. Dan Andrews. Oh. Anyway, so what can you say? Victoria, now, well, just imagine there's Hong Kong, there's Taiwan, and in the middle, Victoria, all Chinese territories. Now, the Greens have responded to Pauline Hanson's. She wants to restore the biological definitions of man and women, or a man and a woman. And the Greens, though, well, they're nuts. Can play Greens.
I just want to say very clearly, the Australian Greens proudly stand with transgender Australians. We proudly stand with transgender children in this country. We will always stand with them and support them against anything that is divisive, that seeks to demonise them. I want to say to trans people in this country, no matter how old they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what their cultural backgrounds, and there are many, that we have their backs in here. They are loved, they are supported, we hear you, we see you, you have a right to exist, you have every human right in this country that everyone else does, and the Australian Greens will always stand with trans people because trans rights are human rights.
So there you are. That's the Green senator saying that he and the Greens will stand by children who are trans. Now, we have to stand by children, but it doesn't mean that we trick them into having a sex change operation. How old are you? Oh, I'm 40 seconds old. Oh, good on you. 40 seconds old? What do you want to be? I don't know what it'll be. That's what it's like. It's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Looking at the, before we get into our guest, looking at the news.com.au, by the way, is a putrid, absolutely putrid periodical or daily magazine newspaper. Incredible scenes, Aussie figure seen among axis of evil. So what we're doing is we're calling a great deal of the leaders of nations from around the world the axis of evil. Poking here, by the way, at China and Russia and India and all the other places, the axis of evil. But if you look at an early bulletin today, earlier in the morning, Abby Chatfield with her bloke from Peking duck. And truly, that is what you should do to Peking duck. You should throw it in the oven and cook it, because they were just absolutely nuts. And they were very insulting to the Australians that marched on the weekend, saying that we support Australia. We're not racist. A lot of those that were marching, in fact, all of them marching, are immigrants of some sort. Just for the government to put a hold on it, just to be a little more cautious, because there's nowhere to live. It's wrecking communities. It's creating communities that generalised Australians are not welcome. So that's what they're saying. And then they also said in this terrible publication that some of the protesters went to a Chinese restaurant. Ha! They're immigrants. So anyway, went on. So that's a terrible, terrible publication. Murdoch Media, vomit material. Now here's another one. If you don't believe in conspiracy theories, then turn away. What about the retired pharma executive, Professor Francis Boyle, who was going to testify in a Dutch court against Bill Gates and Pfizer, basically, about the COVID shots being bioweapons? He suddenly died. Just like that. Just fell off the perch. Can play Boyle.
Now, there was a sixth witness Professor Francis Boyle, who is actually expert on bioweapons, having drafted several bioweapons conventions-related laws in the U.S. And 3 weeks after he agreed to testify on behalf of the plaintiffs that these products and the process was deployment of bioweapons, he suddenly died. And we still don't know the cause of death. And the only thing that we know is he was perfectly healthy prior and was teaching full time. He was in his mid 70s. And this was a shock to all of us. And this looks very suspicious to me. I can't speculate on what happened, but I would really like to know the cause of death, and we don't know that. So that's where we are right now. This is how serious it is. These people stop at nothing.
And what about in Europe also? Again, the elections. There's a local elections in the North Rhine-Westphalia region of Germany. I think it's called Welt. Anyway, maybe not. But the AfD party, they're running in these elections, have recorded 6 deaths amongst its politicians within a very short period of time in the run-up to those local elections. 6 of them fell off the perch just before the election. Nothing to look at here. But maybe there is. And what else is there? Oh, we see Mark Butler. We'll talk about Mark Butler in a second with Anna about our Australia's new CDC. And we see New Zealand are reporting to VAERS, which is interesting. It's really interesting. Okay, Anna Mcloughlin is Communication Advisor for NZDSOS. Anna, thanks for joining us. Australia is going to get its own CDC and New Zealand reports to VAERS. I always say this, but what could possibly go wrong?
So many things. It just seems so corrupt, and there's so much money being pushed into these organisations, isn't there?
It is terrible. I mean, because I had a clip here and it didn't get up in time, so I'll just sort of read you this from Mark Butler. And truly, he looks like an evil rabbit. Sorry, and I should be very kind about rabbits, so sorry about that to all those rabbits that are going to contact their solicitor. Federal Health Minister Mark Butler has introduced a bill to empower the new Director General of the Centre for Disease Control. We call it the CDC. And they're allocating in Australian dollars, which is $17.50, or in pesos, allocating $251.7 million with an ongoing $73.3 million annual budget. The bill claims compliance with international human rights, but justifies limiting them for public health reasons. Mark the Rabbit Butler says there will be another pandemic. The only question is when. Anna, look at me. Tell me, when will the other pandemic occur? It will occur when they're ready, won't it?
Well, according to Ashley Bloomfield, our former Director General of Health over here in New Zealand, he claimed on a news show earlier this year that we've got about 4 years left. And if there's 4 years, he'll absolutely take that.
Wow. So we're going to have another one in 4 years.
It sounds about right. Yes, he was concerned about the avian influenza that was going around a lot, and as we all hear about the bird flu quite often. And yeah, so 4 years perhaps. So hence the billions of dollars being flushed into new departments, laundering money.
Or just flushed down the toilet. But it's interesting though. Your guy must be a fortune teller, but they do plan for these things, and there's even doubt about the last inverted commas pandemic on that flu, they were right. It's going to cause many deaths, but they didn't say part 2 of that was because you've taken the vaccine, and that will create maiming and deaths and destroy communities and people. But so what? There's too many people anyway. What about New Zealand? Will they follow? I see that you are reporting to VAERS, which underreports by about 99%. Will New Zealand get their own CDC?
We have quite significant governmental structure in place now, and I can't say for certain that we will or we won't, but I do know that we already have a Pandemic Preparedness Act that was updated just recently with overarching legislation that can significantly limit the rights of New Zealanders. And the Bill of Rights Act appears to have very minimal influence over the limitations of those rights. But we watched already that the government spent $66 billion on the previous pandemic, so, or however we want to label that, and they just got away with it and are ignoring it and have no accountability whatsoever. So whether there's a CDC set up in New Zealand, I can't say, but I do know that we have really strict laws in place already.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm just looking at the new CDCs they're wanting to set up. What's wrong with all these announcements, if you can tell me, without the acknowledgement or retribution or compensation or accountability of what went wrong last time?
That's a very good question. I think the fact that what happened is that the fundamental rights of New Zealanders and Australians, it was, I would probably even say that it was a lot worse over there. They were just stripped away and completely disregarded on the side of the road as the government just trailed down the highway of the pandemic response. I think the fact that there's no accountability is the fact that there could be clauses in the contracts that were signed by governments between these pharmaceutical industry giants who provided these mRNA shots to people as well. So it's a hard question to answer, I guess. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a fairly good job at this stage. But it does seem that they are gearing up for another one, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And they have all the structure in place basically to be able to push that through at a moment's notice. It's really concerning, I think, knowing what has gone on in the past and the preparation throughout the media. I think that's probably where I tend to focus on a lot because they have practiced medicine without a license during the during the COVID years. They were manipulating people to go and get vaccines with chocolate fish and KFC vouchers over here. And then just carrying on, basically telling everybody that they're dirty and disgusting if they don't get a vaccine and that they're killing their grandmother. And so I think the media are just suddenly starting to prepare this mindset and framework of a compliant population through the messaging that's going on now. And it's almost laying the foundation for the next one.
Could you tell us about these reports to VAERS? They are New Zealand deaths reported on VAERS, but could you explain to us?
Yeah, so it's not a typical process of what happens with a vaccine, but because Pfizer is a US company, and this is a new treatment or a new technology is what they call it, they are required, if they receive a report sent into them from our Centre for Adverse Reporting Monitoring, CARM, in New Zealand, if that is received to Pfizer, Pfizer has to pass it on to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System in the United States. So there is a protocol there that they have to adhere to. So if doctors here think that the vaccine could be causally related or correlated, they can put that into the CARM website in New Zealand and it gets passed on.
Does VAERS report on deaths outside the US?
Not typically, but it has done for New Zealand in particular, because that's how we've researched. I imagine it would probably have some similar structure or process in Australia as well.
And can you discuss these reports?
Yeah, well, some of these deaths, so in a discussion that my team had the other day, we were looking at probably more of the younger age groups that were listed on the VAERS website. And I mean, there was a 12-year-old girl who received her vaccine on the 30th of September 2021, and then she died suddenly on the 5th of October 2021. And it was just described as a fast, sudden death. Then we've got a 13-year-old male who died from myocarditis, and the description in there was actually quite disturbing, so I won't read that, but he had his first dose. It looked there's a few dates here, so I don't want to get it incorrect, but he died within a few weeks after his first or second dose. And then there was another 15-year-old boy who passed away from a heart attack. A 15-year-old boy, that's pretty unusual unless there was a major heart issue beforehand. But there was no autopsy performed and no follow-up attempts were completed. So they don't have any more information. But these are New Zealanders because they've got all the numbers here. They're young people who are dying and they haven't been acknowledged.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Were they reported on a similar database in New Zealand?
They would have had to have gone through a database in New Zealand to get to Pfizer, or they would have been reported straight to Pfizer itself, who passed it on to VAERS. So someone would have reported it, but it doesn't seem to be acknowledged in New Zealand.
Have you, I think, just from memory, I think you guys have requested, isn't that part of the $100,000 bill that you guys got, have requested for this data? Am I right there, or am I just cross-purposing?
We've made requests for data, but they don't seem to have that available at the moment, or in general. They stopped reporting at the end of 2022. So there was a new structure set up with the Governance of Health in New Zealand, and it sort of created a bit of chaos, I think. And so databases were swapped over and they haven't really publicly reported since. I mean, we can access deaths by vaccine status from COVID over the last few years. However, no deaths from vaccines or side effects in that regard.
I see that Donald Trump has gone, as we would say here, Burko, over Pfizer and the advice he was given. He said the advice that he was given mentioned nothing about the side effects of Operation Warp Speed. And it's very interesting now. I'm just wondering what will happen. What do you think will happen now that the big, beautiful president has gone a bit crazy in Burko over being fed a bunch of stuff that comes out of the back of cows?
I am watching that with hope and anticipation that some acknowledgement can come from this, and maybe some exposure of the corruption of these large pharmaceutical companies can happen. He did say, though, in that tweet that he was always given beautiful information from Pfizer, and he wants the public to be able to see that. So I also question, is he going to show their information, which is quite clearly biased, from a criminally negligent company?
I think it's Peter Navarro has just passed on Donald's thoughts, and he's not very impressed. His orange chair caught fire, which is terrible. He was a hothead. But I'm just wondering what will happen. You can't lie to a president. You can't lie to the president of the United States if you work for him, because that would compromise national security, which it did. If he follows through with what I'm sort of thinking, that he will go after those people and he will prosecute, because they placed America in jeopardy. There's also a good excuse, or a good point to be made, that Australia and New Zealand and other countries should do the same. They won't do it, though, will they? They are in love with mRNA and soon to be saRNA. They're just in love with this gene therapy.
Yes, and New Zealand at the moment is actually calling for or applying for grants and funding due to the limitation of research over in the US. So they've set up research labs, multiple research labs over here, and I assume Australia is sort of heading in the same direction with the way that they're speaking, particularly with the CDC. So I don't know if they're going to stop the process. I know that the US is looking to stop the market of mRNA vaccines in the next few months, potentially. So that is huge progress on the international front, but I don't know if it will set a precedent here.
Can you tell me why New Zealand has re-signed a contract with Pfizer despite unprecedented harm from mRNA?
Well, the unprecedented harm remains unacknowledged, but I actually question, was that part of the contract for Pfizer, the original contract when they procured those vaccines? So originally in 2021, we had MB, or the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. They actually procured and managed the COVID vaccine contracts, which Pharmac typically does, but then it was handed back to Pharmac, who has now just secured that until the end of 2027, I think, or 2026, with the option of continuing on to 2027. So they're still heavily promoting it, particularly to the high-risk groups in our country, the elderly and those who are immunocompromised. But how are they not looking at the data that's even coming out of the Global Vaccine Data Network here, which is GVDN, run by through Auckland University? I mean, those are showing significant safety signals for people, and informed consent is still not happening.
No, it's not, is it? It's and I don't think it will ever happen within, say, New Zealand or Australia, because that would then probably intimate that we are a democracy. We're not. I mean, there has to be something else at play, don't you think? Because at the moment, our rights and freedoms are being stripped as we look at it. And if you disagree, you're slapped down by the PR firms or the legacy media. I mean, there has to be something at play. And you mentioned that there quite possibly could be another pandemic on the horizon. If that's what they're going to do, you can then understand why they're doing all these things. But what's the end game? What do you think the end game is?
I just have to take it back to the fact that they're implementing Agenda 2030 into typical policies. I know that they're doing that here in New Zealand with legislation. But basically, Agenda 2030 is the ultimate goal. So it's to create this sort of carbon net zero environment for the world. But I also question, is carbon net zero? Humans are made of carbon. And we have had newspaper articles and online discussions about the fact that humans contribute to climate change just by breathing. So is this sort of heading towards a completely controlled society? Well, I would probably branch out and say yes.
Yeah, they say that many have said that the elite, if you're looking at Gates and co., they are looking at us as being the expendables, not the renewables, but the expendables. And that would, I wouldn't go that far, but I do think there's this quest for power, and I think and to control us, and I think that we are in deep trouble. If you look at the livestock on the land, they're encouraged to take, I think it's Bovar, which is a very bad drug, and it creates all sorts of unpleasantness and ill health and death in many cases for animals. What happens if we start eating or drinking that? They don't know what the end result's going to be. They're giving the animals now gene therapy. We had a vet on the other day talking about how it could very well go into the entire food chain. They don't know what they're doing, yet they're pushing this terrible, terrible product called mRNA and soon saRNA. Jobst Longrub, he's a guy from Germany we have on scientist and very, very up to speed with things. And he's two things he said, that mRNA is a short-term gene therapy, and it should be banned immediately because it is way, way too dangerous. Do you think? No, I won't go there. We'll leave this alone at the moment. What else is happening just quickly in the land of the long white cloud?
Well, we actually, there's a lot happening, particularly with NZDSOS. We seem to have almost reached our target of fundraising to pay the court costs from the Medical Council case, which is pretty extraordinary that people have got behind us. But there is still a long way to go, and to be able to create awareness of what is going on with society at the moment and the structures that have been put in place to really just create control and a compliant population. So there's a lot going on. We've still got the Royal Commission happening. We've got a lot of things going on politically with the children. There's been a huge case over here recently that a top businessman was caught with extreme imagery of children and received name suppression because it causes undue distress and support, undue process to the business. But they didn't even consider the fact of the children who were suffering in those images, did they? No, they just want to protect the big businessmen. So there's a lot of corruption going on here in the kids space as well.
Yeah, it's terrible, and it's never ending, but you're not alone. I think it's replicated in most countries around the world. Absolutely fantastic to chat with you again. It's all happening, let me tell you, here at the moment. Anna Mcloughlin, Communications Advisor for NZDSOS at NZDSOS.com. What about on the socials? Anything? Where can they go to socials to find out more about this great organisation?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, X, and now YouTube, and probably Instagram soon at NZDSOS.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. We'll catch you next time. This is The World Today.
My name's Yvonne Hong, and I'm the founder and CEO of Pets of the Homeless. Started Pets of the Homeless when I realised that such a service wasn't available to help those who are experiencing homelessness or hardship with their pets. And back then it was just myself with a suitcase full of food, and I would walk down the streets of Melbourne every single weekend to hand them out to anyone in need. Basically, I just wanted to do something to make a difference, no matter how small it was. So at Pets of the Homeless, what we do is we provide assistance with pet food. We also help them cover the cost of veterinary care, and we also take in the animals and provide them with a safe shelter when their owners are temporarily unable to care for them.
My name's Michelle, and I'm a volunteer here at Pets of the Homeless. They are our best friends, and people need to get out of certain situations. It's just so fulfilling and such valuable work that we do to keep best friends together, which is our tagline, and it's just so true.
It's either you choose the security of a safe shelter or you have to part with your pet. And a lot of the times people are actually willing to continue sleeping in their car or sleeping rough on the streets just because they don't want to be separated from their pet. For a lot of people, they don't have family and friends to support them. So their pet is their whole life.
So my name's Graham Collier, and I'm a full-time volunteer with the Father Bob McGrath Foundation. So we provide free food to those who in need of assistance. And obviously, in addition to feeding our friends, our human friends, we also need to feed their pets. We live in a country in which there is a strange imbalance between a massive amount of surplus food and an increasing number of people in need. And if you look in there and look at all those amazing people packing up food, they've got heart. And I love working with people who give their time and give their personality. They're just amazingly wonderful people.
I'm Paul, and I'm a volunteer at Pets of the Homeless. My main role with volunteering here is doing the deliveries. In the 18 months that I've been here, the van was never full when I first started. In the last 10 months or more, I go out with a full load every time, and you see, you get people that are coming up to you and giving you hugs and thanking you and everything else. It makes me feel proud and good. Sometimes it does bring a tear to your eye.
This team, the whole organisation is full of volunteers that are passionate. We've got the same passion. We love animals. We love helping. So I feel really valued being part of this organisation. I feel really honoured to represent the organisation.
My name's Julie and I'm a foster carer at Pets of the Homeless. Just giving someone's beautiful babies lots of love and attention and somewhere nice and warm to sleep. Pets of the Homeless pay for everything, all their bedding, their food, their vet, whatever they need. And I just have to give them some love and somewhere nice to live. And then now we've got Coco, and she's a sweetheart. And my dogs really love her. Labrador Cross Husky. Her dad has no home to live in. So he's looking for somewhere to live, and when he finds a home, she'll go back. It really makes me feel good about myself, being able to help someone, because it doesn't cost anything to do it. You just have to give love, and, pets give heaps of love back to you. I was a bit nervous at the beginning because I thought I would be upset when they go home, but you just have to get it in your mind at the beginning that you're looking after someone's baby for them. About to go. Yeah. Are you ready? And action! Who's that?
My name's Jason Mutimer. Currently now I'm living alone with Sash. I work full-time in a bakery. In all honesty, she means everything to me. She's the one that I come home to every night. So I got her when she was about 18 months old. Leading up to the accident, I was in a pretty bad place. Prior to that, I'd lost my dad to cancer. I had a breakdown with some family, lost my job, got evicted. I was actually living in my car with her for a year. I kept getting rejected every time I'd apply for somewhere because I had the dog, and it was just, it was a pretty hard time, When I used to live in my car, I used to always take her to this little place that I could actually let her off the lead. Since I'd been in this other house, I hadn't really taken her there, and it was just a Saturday morning, and we went for a big walk down there, and I thought I'd let her off the lead. She was just running, and next minute she yelped, and I thought she'd stepped on a bit of glass or something, because straight away she wouldn't put any weight at all on her back leg. Eventually I took her to the vets, and they just straight away said, no, she's done her knee. She's going to need ligament surgery. So a part of me felt guilty because I'd let her off the lead. Once I got that diagnosis, that was basically the only option that we had. And then Pets of the Homeless, off their own back, went and did a fundraiser, put it on Facebook, had a tremendous result, and raised well and truly enough to do the whole surgery. They don't know me, they don't know her, and it was within the space of a couple of hours, and we'd already reached our target. Hundreds of well wishes, and absolutely brilliant, the goodwill that's still out there.
Yeah, my name is Aaron and this is Spud. I've had Spud since he was a puppy. He's 10 now and I've had him that whole time except for when he's been with Yvonne at the Pets of the Homeless. I had a bit of a rough patch. I had a workplace incident happen a few years ago now. I was unable to get secure proper accommodation for Spud and I for some time, and that was when I had to make the decision to sort of put him into foster care for a little bit while I found somewhere that was suitable for even just myself. We've now got a beautiful apartment and we go for walks every day, and it's just like lovely having Spud at home and being with him every single second of the day. Oh, to know that Spud was safe was probably like the most... It has two sides to the coin. It's sad and you miss him, and it's somewhat almost depressing that you can't even take care of your dog. But it's also very comforting to know that Spud was taken care of very well. His needs were all met, and he was with a family that loved him and took care of him. And just knowing that I had time to sort myself out and get my dog back was just such relief. I couldn't even imagine if I had to surrender my dog because I had nowhere for him to go. I guess just as motivating as it is for a parent to get their stuff together for their children. My family and Spud are on a very even keel. Sometimes it slides. That day was like very exciting and new. I just moved into the apartment that same day. Spud and I were so excited he jumped up and knocked my teeth out. But again, it was such a happy moment. I haven't spent the night without him since I've been back.
And what a great video. Absolutely stunning. Pets of the homeless. And it's just around the corner for many people. So we need to look after our fellow human beings, without doubt. That's it for the show. A bit shorter today, but that's the way the Bicky bounces. We'll catch you again in a few hours' time right here on The World Today.